Welcome to the Podcast Editing and Support Show. My name is Dave. Are you ready? Are you ready? Let's go. We're going to start the episode right now. Happy to have you here. Let's do this. So the topic of money. It's going to make people want to run from this episode. It's going to want to make some people stay. Hi, I'm Dave. Nice to have you on the show. We're going to talk about emphasizing the outcomes and benefits of working with an editor, specific to some pricing strategies for us as podcast editors in support of you, the podcast host. So there's three things I want to kind of highlight today on this episode. And I want to focus on some tangible results that the podcast host will gain by working with us, podcast editors. And these are things that I bring up when I'm onboarding a new host and talking about the benefits they're going to see by hiring me as their editor. These are some of the things that I talk about in that introductory meeting. So for you, a new potential podcast editor, you're thinking about, I want to sit down and have these onboarding calls with a new podcaster, and I don't even know where to start. Well, here's a good starting point, okay? 3 things that you can offer to your podcast host, the potential person you want to work with and you want to be their editor. There's 3 things. And then as well, as a podcaster, this is something you can use as well and use it back to your editor and say, these are the things I need help with. Okay, so it goes both ways. I'm here to help everybody, okay? You, the editor, and you, the host, because I am both myself. So these are things that I would love to bring to you today on the show. You ready? Okay, well, here we go. So let's imagine you and I are on Zoom together, doing a video call, an onboarding call to talk about working with me and what it's like and all that. Before we get to the money part of all of this, like the actual dollar and cents, or how much this is going to cost, let's have this first initial conversation. To focus on these tangible results as a podcast host, these are things you're going to gain by working with me as a podcast editor. First of all, you, as the host, are going to gain back your time. The time savings of working with an editor are something that I think a lot of hosts don't really anticipate as being a huge advantage at first. They'll see it over time, because it's a time thing. But for me, I like to highlight how many hours per week that a host is going to save by outsourcing tasks to me as an editor. For example, by handling your show notes and maybe social media promotion, I can save you about 5 to 10 hours per week, allowing you to focus on making your content better, getting better guests, preparing more, or working on your business, or just playing with your dog. I can give you back 5 to 10 hours a week. And by taking on all those behind the scene tasks that just seem to eat away at your calendar. As well, if you're not really disciplined and you don't really like technology and you don't really like going in and doing all that editing stuff, you might be like just waiting to hand this off to somebody. So if I could give you back 5 to 10 hours per week to your schedule to do whatever you want with with that time, how much is that 5 to 10 hours worth to you? What's a dollar amount to you to have 5 to 10 hours back? Let's just use easy numbers. Let's say $10 an hour. So 5 hours back, $50. 10 hours back, $100. Is that worth it to you to get that time back? So how much is your time worth? I think that when we get to the number part of talking about hiring somebody, is I want to know from your perspective as a host of a podcast, what is your time worth? If you had 1 hour, how much does that represent for you in the time that you could make income for your business, for your life, whatever? What is that number for you? Because that number then has to then correspond with the potential of hiring somebody and whether or not this works out for you financially. So what's your number as a host? I think before you talk to anybody about hiring somebody, you need to know your number to see if there's any kind of room in there that you could bring somebody on your team to help you with your show. And as an editor, what's your number as far as what is it going to take for you to give up an hour of your time to work for somebody? You both, as an editor and as a host, both need to come up with your own number about what works for you. and then see if there's a relationship there with that number. So as a podcast editor, I can give you back the gift of time. And that's the one thing that's probably the most cherished thing in our days today is time. So what is the time savings? I can give you back time as an editor and be that person behind the scenes, creating space for you to do something else other than all that behind the scenes stuff. What's the other thing that I can offer to you as an editor? I can offer you help with your audience growth. So this is something that takes time to develop. And if you're a brand new editor, it's hard to justify these numbers because you haven't done this before. So you're going to have to do it either for yourself on your own show or for a friend or volunteer to help somebody with this when you're first starting out because you don't have any clients. But how can you help the podcaster grow their audience? Now, this could be all kinds of different things. Okay, we talk usually about numbers. Growth means more listeners. Growth means more community members, more email, newsletter signups, more followers on Instagram, more downloads of the audio podcast or whatever. That's something that everybody's looking at, but there's also the growth that happens within growing the audience you have, as far as having them listen to more episodes or have them listen longer to an episode. That's also growth. That's in addition to growing the total number of people. If you have 20 listens to your show, what if you grew that 20 people from a faceless, nameless audience into actual one-on-one conversation with 20 people to the depth and degree that they start listening to even more of your episodes and listen longer? That is also growth for your show. Beyond getting 21 listens, what about just focusing on the 20 and growing them into a deeper relationship? You as an editor and as a support person can be that one to help that podcaster grow the depth and the size of their audience at the same time. So keep that in mind. So if you could come up with something like saying to your podcast host when you meet with them, my targeted social media strategies have helped podcasters increase their audience by 20 to 30% within 3 months. So there's a claim. And now that claim has to be substantiated. And if you could have references for that as well, either on your website or a way for a potential podcaster to talk to another podcast that you work with, great. But show them a way that you can help them grow their audience. And as a podcaster, you want help with that, make sure you ask for that from your potential podcast editor and support person. Because again, there might be some podcast editors, they just do editing, they just do audio, they just do video, and they're not there to help you with anything past that. So you need to know this up front. Can you help me grow my audience in addition to editing my show? The other thing is we as editors can help you improve the production quality of your podcast. So if you work with me, my promise to you is I'm going to help you through my editing experience and what I do for my own shows and for others, I'm going to elevate the sound quality of your show. Now, it might mean that you need to buy a microphone for your podcast because you don't have a microphone. So that's going to immediately make you sound better. I'm going to help you to record on better platforms that sound better. I'm going to help you to remove those noises and make you sound less echoey where you're recording at home or in your office. I'm going to help you to elevate the sound quality of your show, and I'm going to help you make your show sound more professional and more engaging for your listeners. That could be in how it's edited. That could be in how it's produced. That could be in how it's distributed. That can be in how you record it. All of these things can all work together. So the reason why I call this show the Podcast Editing and Support Show is because I think that we focus more on the editing and less on the support side of what we can do as editors and support team members for a podcaster. I want you to understand that hiring an editor is more than just taking out random ums and ahs, taking out silence and throwing some music on the podcast, and we're good. There's a lot more that we can do for you as editors, and I would love to talk to you if you have questions about A, hiring an editor, or B, maybe working with me one-on-one for your show, whether that's just simply some advice on how you can make a show better, or answer questions for you about finding the right person. If it's not me for your show, I know some other great people that would love to work with you, and I would love to connect you with them. So reach out, podcasteditingandsupport.com is the website. And this show is totally designed, again, to connect a podcaster with an editor and an editor with a podcaster. I want you to see both sides of the picture so that you can make the right choice for your show and for you, the editors listening, so that you feel equipped to make that first call to reach out to a podcaster and say, I want to work with you as your editor. If you do editing already and you're thinking, I already have the skill set for my own show, but I never thought of leveraging it to maybe turning it into a business, then this is the perfect podcast for you, because I want to help you to grow your knowledge, your ability, and your confidence to reach out to podcasters and build your little business and help people as a podcast editor and support person. That's why this is the Podcast Editing and Support Show. If you need any help, reach out to me through the website, link in the show notes. And remember, if you're looking for a great hosting site to host your podcast, go check out our friends at Captivate.fm. All the information as well in the show notes. Thanks for listening. Catch you on the next episode. Thanks for listening to the Podcast Editing and Support Show. Visit us at podcasteditingandsupport.com, podcasteditingandsupport.com. We would love to help you find a great podcast editor, or if you want to hire us, we would love to work with you. Podcasteditingandsupport.com. Catch you on the next episode. Take care.